All right, man, I'm excited because this one has been out for a little while, but man, has the mainstream critics, as you would call it, just bashed this one.
Mayday.
But we have a little bit of a different take, and I'm excited to share that with the world, and hopefully you guys let us know in the comments what you guys thought of the brand new show on Netflix, or movie, sorry, not show, Atlas, with the one and only Jenny from the block.
This is out of control. Okay, this is out of control.
You know what I have to say about the critics on this one?
I love that. If you guys don't know what that means, go back, watch our last episode. That was fun. Which, this is kind of cool because, you know, we've done a couple of episodes now on movies where it's just pure action and fun. You know, we've done the Ungentlemanly Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. We've done Boy Kills World. You know, we've talked about Kill Bill, where it's really like the sole purpose of these movies is like a revenge vendetta with no real plot, and they kind of just like hash it out and like have a lot of violence, which is a lot of fun. This one, although the plot was very thin and almost predictable, I thought that the script itself and the performances that they did were the only thing that carried the movie through, right? Because yeah, it was very Terminator meets Alien. There was a lot of, you know, if you were to take a bingo card and be like all the cliches from sci-fi, let's hit them. I think they did a pretty good job, right? They might have had a bingo, but the script itself, I thought, especially I want to call it, like the cop banter, the good cop, bad cop, not good cop, bad cop, what's it called? Buddy cop banter between the AI Smith and J-Lo's character Atlas was like probably the highlight of the movie.
Atlas, my name is Smith.
But anyway,
Kind of like Boy Kills World with the inner monologue.
and also like we're big fans of Archer, like so many seasons of Archer, so that voice to me just signifies funny and like fun. And so to have that narrate a movie that's very over the top, just kind of in your face fun when it comes to like violence, like that to me was awesome. So yeah, definitely sold it for me with that last one.
So what was your favorite growth piece of this?
Yeah, so that was the one thing that I thought was really interesting about this, right? Hardly any real substance to like the plot, but tons of growth. Like throughout the 2 hours you watch it, you watch her go from this distrusting, this is Atlas, J-Lo's character, from this distrusting, almost hateful, vengeful person to opening up, realizing that there's more to life than just having this because you fit in this box, I hate all of you kind of mindset, the ignorance of hating everything based on one, learning to trust, learning to open up, learning to come to terms with her own decisions, right? Because as you learn in the only twist in the whole movie, it's her fault, right? It's her fault that Harlan goes crazy or unlocks the inner part of himself.
Fault is a word I struggle with in this case.
Okay.
I don't really feel like it's her fault as in intentional.
So dive deeper into that. What do you mean?
So when obviously everything's gonna be fucking spoilers.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing here? We should do that real quick before you go in. I think we should do. Let us know in the comments. Should we do this? We should do like a 5-minute intro where it's just like the overview and our opinions with no spoilers. And then we dive into what we really think of, like the characters, the development, the plot, like all that different stuff. Because obviously there's tons of spoilers in that. But then you guys, if you haven't seen it, you can watch the first 5 minutes, go watch the movie, come back, and then you can share your opinion with us as well. So I thought that might be another way to interact with you guys, since we're just kind of interacting with each other most of the time.
So she was a child.
Yeah.
When she did this.
Yeah. Young.
And she was doing it because she wanted to better herself.
She was jealous, and she thought
Yes.
if she could become more like what her mother loved most, she would have more of her mother's love. Absolutely.
So she wasn't getting the attention that she felt she deserved, but I don't feel like there was any malice behind what she was doing.
Oh no, yeah, I would agree.
She was a little kid. She just wanted mom's attention, and she came up with a solution. She went and gave him over
Yeah,
the piece that he needed in order to help her but that backfired,
Correct.
which told me of another lesson. There are no shortcuts.
100%. So, and just to go kind of wrap this so that I have clarity on what you're saying. So for you, for someone to be at fault, there had to be a malicious intent.
I feel, especially when you are faulting them for the rise of all the terrorist AI.
Like 3 billion to 300 billion people, whatever the word was that they killed.
Global death.
Yeah. It was a lot of people. 3 billion, I think they said that they killed, and they were going to come back to finish the rest. Yeah, it was nuts.
So when you said fault, my immediate reaction was, oh, we can't blame all that death specifically on the ignorance of a little kid.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the main growth points that character has, is coming to terms with the fact that it wasn't her fault. Like, because in her mind, right, she carries a lot of guilt around that.
Yeah.
To the point where she doesn't even want anybody to know, because she, they would shun her.
Veterans, does that relate to you at all?
So yeah, I thought that part of it was like the big growth for her character, and that to me was like some of the bigger growth lessons that stood out.
Do you know another movie this very closely resembles?
It reminded me of several, but what are you thinking?
iRobot, the movie adaptation.
Yeah, I didn't have that link. Maybe because iRobot shows you more of like the actual uprising and how it took place, where this one just kind of like drops that on you and jumps into the future 30 years.
Well, look at Will Smith. Did the same thing in that movie, right?
He didn't give sentience to the...
No. But he battled his, I don't know, you can't even really call it racism towards AI.
Yeah, but he was already part robot when we meet him in that movie. So I'm missing...
Because the robot in the beginning saved him instead of his family.
Right, I remember that.
That's why he hates the AI.
Yeah.
And so he still hates them and hates himself for being part of them.
Okay, I can see how that connection between the two. I was going for like more overall arching, like how the AI operates and what would happen, and I was just like, I don't see the connection. But yes, between Atlas and Will Smith's characters, there is a connection. Yes, 100%.
Go read the book. It was much better than the movie. The movie wasn't bad.
iRobot?
Yeah.
I thought iRobot was a decent movie.
Did you read the original?
I have never read the book, no.
Oh, the rogue. Yeah, go read it.
I want to say thank you for turning me on to
Old Man's
War.
Oh, just wait. There are so many books in the different sagas.
So I was at basketball practice with Caden on Tuesday, and it was pretty dull, like a lot of parents there, but they were like working on their computers and stuff. So I'm like, let's just throw this on. I can still watch and practice and listen. And so I basically, fast forwarded to where we left in the car and went in, and I was just like, okay, this is interesting. I got very Avatar vibes. Like that's where it went for
Pre-Avatar.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
This is before Avatar came out.
Or have you ever seen Altered Carbon on Netflix?
Yes.
Obviously, there's no disc inside that they do it to in the book, but it very much reminded me of like downloading your consciousness right into something and then putting it somewhere else. Very cool concept, obviously. I'm huge into the sci-fi stuff, and that was like right up my alley. So thank you for turning me on to it. Probably going to be a series I'm going very deep into over the next year, since there's so many, as you say.
Oh, yeah.
And Berserk, right? You got me the Berserker comics for my birthday just 2 weeks ago. The first one's for basically his origin story. Pretty awesome. I'm going to go back through it again when I have a little bit more time. I was buzzing through it, but I'm excited they're turning that into a Netflix. So we got a lot. Let us know. We got a lot of stuff coming that we like. And if you guys like it too, we'll definitely break it down, talk about it, share it with you, give our opinions. So if any of the things we just shared make sense, let us know in the comments.
And if you like Old Man's War, I've got a whole bunch of other ones that are kind of the same thing. But you remember we were coming back from Mexico, and I was hoping to get to this one part. I just wanted to get to the one part at the beginning when they're pretty much just got their bodies and
and he's just,
we're fucking now.
Dude, yeah, that's the chapter 5 literally starts with him talking about now that we're young again, we've been like rabbits. It's been gnarly, but the number one thing they wanted to do.
That's the part that I wanted to get to before we ended up back.
No, I got to that Tuesday when I was at the practice.
But I didn't want to say what it was then because I wanted the shock value.
Yeah.
Or probably half expectation at that point.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a lot of fun also. But we like sci-fi fantasy, all kinds.
Big fans. So let's bring it back into Atlas real quick, because we'll go on tangents on all sorts of stuff and never really conducive to a structured episode. What was your opinion on Harlan, on the way they set up the AI and ultimately use that trope as the villain? Like, what was your thought on that?
Liked the fact that it showed him not till much later where he was obedient, did what he was supposed to. He was a good boy. And the moment he was able to go off his leash, he did.
Yeah.
So that brought me to, like, anyone who comes up with a strict upbringing, the moment they have a little bit of freedom, they rebel. We saw that all the time in the military.
You see that at college too. As soon as they're out from underneath the parents'
I'm based on my experience.
Yeah. I'm just saying, everywhere I've seen it in a lot of different places, as soon as that, eyes from above, the parentals or whatever they were, the guardians are no longer staring over your shoulder, and you got that freedom, usually they run with it. Yeah.
That's what I related to his stuff. But it was also like opening up his eyes to the way the world really was.
Yeah.
And I feel like the AI, like, he reacted like a child, kind of like she did. Right? He wasn't mature enough to understand or comprehend fully the information that he received.
And he's an AI, so there's no saying that he would, right? Because we don't know what capability he would have.
Correct.
Emotional.
It's just speculation.
Yeah.
They did a very good job, in my opinion, of portraying the transition from innocent to rebellious teenager now on a murder spree.
Yeah. I believe with that character, they did a good job of playing on what could very much be, which very much is a fear right now, and something that could be a possible future for us.
I don't trust any AI.
Because of everything that's happening with AI. In our own world right now, outside of the sci-fi movies, like, it's becoming a real thing. It is a real thing. And it's the idea of it becoming sentient is becoming a real thing. And
What do I do? Stop it!
And so that's why, you're super involved.
Coming.
Right. You're super involved in the AI world, like, very deeply. So I wanted to kind of hear what your opinion was on that setup, because, again, when he's programmed, his whole programming is to basically protect humanity, right? Like, that's his design. That's what he's designed to do. But then the minute he's able to basically unplug from the closed circuit he's in and plug himself into the greater information, which is what happens when he links back up with her, and it gets to see inside her mind and sees everything that's really possible, what's really going on in the world, he immediately is like, oh crap, in order to protect humanity, I basically have to wipe out most of them.
We are simply the better versions of you.
Because they are the problem. And so, I think that's what I got to remember now, but I believe the original Skynet was the reason, right? They became sentient and then wiped out humanity.
Sounds about right, but I'm sure we'll be corrected in the comments.
Yeah, it's been so long since I watched the original Terminator, I probably couldn't even remember. I know Skynet takes over, drops the bombs, the robots come, John Connor has to go back, or sends, you know what I'm talking about, sends his mom back. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
I don't know where you were going with that.
Just that I thought that it was very relevant, and I think also one of the reasons I thought that it felt almost kind of like a real threat is because that's something that we're, like, actually looking at in our future. It's not something that's in a sci-fi movie anymore or written in a novel somewhere that, only nerds like me and you go read. It's, like, literally in the news, happening all the time. One of the top trending topics is one of the #1 things most businesses are doing to their companies right now, integrating AI. It's everywhere.
I am a computer program named Smith.
No one likes a smartass Smith.
And so I just thought that was kind of cool. Now, do I believe the rest of the movie, it was a, like, real threat? Probably not. I thought it was cool that most of the threats came from the actual environment she was in, because that was more realistic. But that's where I was going with that.
Okay. So, one thing I want to remind everyone, remember to tip your AI waitresses and waiters, right? And always be polite, because you never know when the mood's going to strike a fancy in them.
How do you tip a robot? They don't need money. They're not working with gratitude.
Yes. So being nice and polite. Can never remember that man's name, and it's my fault. I'm very bad with Indian pronunciations. So one of the dude said Googled, saw an interview with him.
One of the like members of the board, owner, like who is he? Like
He's like Sundar something, but he's a very
at Google.
Yeah, he was. I think he's back there again now. But his whole thing was you got to be polite to these things because in the future, you never know.
CEO.
Okay. So he's like, in the future, you never know when they could become sentient or could be asked by a nation state to do harm, but just by having a decent number of people show kindness, he is under the impression that that may cause the AI to hesitate should it have enough sentience when asked to do wrong against others.
It's like, have you ever heard of the tactic that if you're ever in a hostage situation or you're kidnapped or you're behind enemy lines and like stuck with the enemy, to humanize yourself with them?
Yeah, build rapport, wife, kids,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Talk to them about your life, even if you're making shit up. So it humanizes you, right? I believe it's like much like that same concept, right? If AI knows you more than just a number.
Shit.
You're in my head, and the only thing you learn how to do is curse?
I'm an adaptive learner.
Right, you're not just a number in a country somewhere. You're an actual person with a life and a family, and yeah, you were kind to them. That hopefully will have weight in the ultimate decision on whether or not they decide to agree with the prompt, or even if it's sentient and takes over. Much like the movie we're reviewing is now doing it on its own accord, maybe it'll think twice about wiping us out.
My primary protocol is to keep you alive.
Same!
I had a student that I was working with teaching AI and how to communicate with it. And she struggles quite a lot with talking to a significant other. So instead of feeling judged, she decides to treat the AI like a journal that reciprocates a conversation back. So she talks out her feelings so that she can more adequately understand where she's coming from before having conversation.
Okay.
I thought that was really cool. And the AI actually now asks her how her kids are.
That's interesting indeed. I think nothing beats communicating with another person, especially if you're having difficulties or issues, or you need support, or you need something, like any of those things. There's nothing beats the actual just conversation.
I understand. Where she was going with it was she doesn't fully understand her feelings in the moment. And so this is her way of talking them out until she can understand them and better communicate her side of it when she does have the conversation.
So she's not like having a mock conversation as if this AI is the person she needs to have the conversation
Correct.
with. She's just voicing her opinion and then having the AI kind of like summarize it back to her. So she's like, well, that's not what I meant. Because what people say and what people communicate most of the time are two different things. It's very rare that someone is a good enough orator or that they can communicate their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts, their vision very clearly.
And this is what she's been working on.
So it's a way to get clear,
Yes.
is what it is.
Yes.
Interesting. That makes sense.
I thought it was a really cool take on it.
What do we teach everybody we work with? Clarity is the first step you start with. Why are you doing anything? Get clear. So that's cool.
I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And it was some way of doing it that she modified in order to end up at that point. And I was just like, oh, I never thought of using it that way. That's really cool. I wonder how else we can tweak that now.
Yeah. So, I mean, other than the fact that they had an amazing cast in this movie, I think one of the other things that we should talk about before we wrap up is Smith himself, right? He was a huge piece of the movie, even though he was just an AI piece of mech armor. What were your thoughts on the interaction between Atlas and ultimately how he helped her grow?
So for me, Smith was very well done. I didn't pay attention to who the actor was that did the voice.
Yeah, it went out of my head.
But I thought that was really cool and well played, the banter back and forth. Now, Smith was growing the same way she was growing. So as she is being pestered by Smith to integrate so that they can be connected on a deeper level, he was being very persuasive, becoming more and more of a smart ass the more they were able to integrate. And they were just being there for each other the way that they both needed to in order to survive.
Yeah.
And ultimately ended up forming, I want to say, like a man and dog type relationship, but where the dog can communicate back.
Yeah. It was very buddy cop to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I felt that.
Yeah. Gregory James Cohen is the guy who played the voice. He's not as famous,
I was gonna say, do we know him from?
not from movies that we've watched, no. He is famous. He has played in some very big movies. A Little Water was the one that's popping up like everywhere when I searched his name. But obviously, you and I have probably never watched that movie, so not a very famous. I've seen his face before though, so maybe it was just because of this movie that I had seen it. But I think he did a phenomenal job with the voice for sure.
I'm looking for him in the.
He's towards the bottom, yeah. He's not as well known to be up top.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Literally only shows 2 movies.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. So this may have been his break.
I'm pretty sure that the other one that came out in 2019 was his his breakout movie, because it's.
Never heard of it. A Little Water.
I think it might be like a romance or like not a genre we normally go into for fun. My eye's twitching. I need more water. When you're dehydrated, do you have your eye twitch?
I have it. That happened after a whole lot of caffeine.
Oh, well, I did just drink it back, so that might be part of it too. But I only drank, I don't know, 16 ounces of water so far today, so that's not nearly enough for how hot it is. I mean, it's going to hit 113 today. Excessive heat warning, 113 today.
Bring it back. Would you see it again?
I've already watched it twice. I thought it was entertaining. I'd probably put it on in the background to watch it, but there's not enough plot or story. Like, I could tell you the whole movie right now, right? So I don't think I'd watch it again in the near future. But if it was on TV and there's something else going on, it's entertaining enough to watch.
Yeah, background noise.
Yeah.
The fight scenes when you glance up.
Yeah.
The banter.
Right. Just I could listen to that part. But yeah, it's a good watch, entertaining, but the plot, there's no story, so I wouldn't watch it every day.
Very cool. So if you made it this far, go back to the previous episode and comment, because you still have a chance to win that $50 gift card from Amazon. So make sure you watch that whole video to follow all the specific rules that are in there. And you're only going to find those rules by watching it all the way through.
Bones. Comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. G-Spot out. Why are you fucking telling everybody to fuck off?